The Stoic way to risk connection without needing it. You see them across the room. You feel the possibility. The spark of recognition, the potential for something real, something meaningful, something that could transform the isolation of your existence into the warmth of shared experience. And then the fear arrives. What if they reject you? What if you say the wrong thing? What if you open yourself and they close the door? What if you need this connection and it is not given? So you hesitate. You calculate. You protect yourself. You wait for the perfect moment, the perfect words, the perfect certainty that will never come. And in your waiting, the moment passes. The possibility dissolves. The connection that might have been becomes the connection that never was. And you tell yourself it was wisdom. It was caution. It was self-protection. But beneath this story, you know the truth. You were afraid. And your fear cost you everything. This is the human condition in love and friendship and every form of intimate connection. We want it desperately. We need it profoundly. And yet we avoid it systematically. Because connection requires vulnerability. Vulnerability requires risk. Risk requires the possibility of loss. And loss is the very thing we are built to avoid. The Stoics understood this paradox with extraordinary clarity. They saw that our suffering in relationships comes not from the absence of connection, but from the desperate need for it. From the attachment to outcome that transforms every interaction into a test of our worth. From the demand that others provide what we cannot provide ourselves. And they built a philosophy specifically to address this. To enable connection without need. Intimacy without desperation. Love without fear. The suspense builds here. Because the conventional advice about connection is inadequate. Be yourself. Be confident. Be authentic. These are not wrong. They are insufficient. They ignore the fundamental terror that underlies all social risk. The terror of rejection. The terror of being seen and found wanting. The terror of opening your heart and having it returned empty. This terror is not weakness. It is biology. The human brain evolved for tribal survival. Rejection meant death. Exile meant death. Isolation meant death. Our ancestors survived because they were sensitive to social threat. Because they feared rejection. Because they needed the tribe. This need is wired into our nervous system. It is not a choice. It is a condition. And yet the Stoics achieved something remarkable. They built a framework for connection that honors this biology without being controlled by it. They acknowledged the need for others without making their peace contingent on others. They pursued intimacy without desperation. They risked rejection without terror. How? Through the discipline of desire. Through the distinction between what is in our power and what is not. Through the recognition that our worth is not determined by others' responses. That our peace is not contingent on others' acceptance. That our capacity for love is not diminished by others' refusal. Epictetus, born a slave, separated from his family, denied the most basic human connections, taught this with devastating clarity. He wrote that if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Do not wish to be thought to know anything. And even if you appear to be somebody important to others, distrust yourself. This is not masochism. This is liberation. The person who does not need to appear important is free to be real. The person who does not need to be accepted is free to reach out. The person who does not need the connection is free to risk it. This is the Stoic paradox. Needing nothing, you can pursue everything. Desperate for nothing, you can offer everything. The practice begins with self-sufficiency. Not isolation. Not independence in the modern sense of needing no one. But the internal capacity for peace regardless of external response. The Stoic does not eliminate the desire for connection. They eliminate the desperation for it. They cultivate what the Greeks called autarkia. Self-sufficiency. The ability to be content with what is in their power. Their own virtue. Their own intentions. Their own capacity for love. These are always available. These cannot be rejected. These cannot be lost. And from this foundation of internal security, the Stoic reaches out to others not to fill a void, but to share in abundance. Marcus Aurelius expressed this with heartbreaking beauty. He wrote that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not upon others' opinions of you, not upon their acceptance or rejection, not upon their presence or absence. Your thoughts, your judgments, your capacity to see clearly. This is the foundation. And from this foundation, connection becomes gift rather than transaction. You offer your attention not to get something back, but because attention is in your power to give. You offer your kindness not to earn reciprocity, but because kindness is in your power to practice. You offer your vulnerability not to secure attachment, but because vulnerability is in your power to risk. The outcome belongs to the other. The effort belongs to you. The neuroscience of attachment confirms this ancient wisdom. Research on adult attachment styles reveals that anxious attachment, the desperate need for connection, creates the very outcomes it fears. The person who needs reassurance seeks it constantly. The constant seeking becomes exhausting. The exhaustion creates distance. The distance confirms the original fear of abandonment. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy of need. The Stoic alternative, what psychology calls secure attachment, is not the absence of desire for connection. It is the presence of internal security. The knowledge that you will survive regardless of outcome. The confidence that your worth is not on the table in every interaction. The peace that comes from knowing you are enough, whether they respond or not. The transformation from anxious to secure is not quick. It is not easy. It requires the same practice the Stoics prescribed for every emotional disturbance. Examination, distinction, release. You examine your need. What exactly am I afraid of? Name it. Rejection, abandonment, loneliness, the judgment of others, the confirmation of my worst fears about myself. You distinguish what is in your power. My reaching out is in my power. Their response is not. My vulnerability is in my power. Their acceptance is not. My love is in my power. Their love is not. And you release what is not yours. Not with resentment. Not with despair. With acceptance. This belongs to them. Not to me. The release is not coldness. This is the critical distinction. The Stoic is not detached from others. They are detached from the need to control others. They love fully. They connect deeply. They risk completely. But they do not need the connection to survive. They do not need the love to be whole. They do not need the acceptance to have worth. This is the difference between the person who reaches out from emptiness and the person who reaches out from fullness. The first is desperate. The second is generous. The first takes. The second gives. The first clings. The second releases. And paradoxically, the second is more likely to receive. Because generosity attracts. Desperation repels. Fullness invites. Emptiness demands. The practical application requires specific techniques. The Stoic does not simply think their way to security. They practice it. They rehearse the worst case. What if they reject me? What if they laugh? What if they are cruel? By imagining these outcomes deliberately, they reduce their emotional charge. They discover that rejection is survivable. That laughter is endurable. That cruelty, while painful, does not destroy them. This is Premeditatio malorum applied to the heart. The premeditation of relational evils. Not to create pessimism. To create courage. The courage to risk because the risk has been defanged. Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The person who fears rejection suffers it 1,000 times in fantasy before it happens once in fact. And often it never happens in fact. The other person accepts. The other person reciprocates. The other person is grateful for the risk. But the fearful person never discovers this because they never risk. They suffer the rejection in imagination and avoid the connection in reality. This is the great tragedy. The Stoic interrupts this tragedy by facing the imagined rejection directly. By discovering that even the worst case is survivable. And from this discovery, the courage to act emerges. The courage is not the absence of fear. The Stoic feels the fear fully. The racing heart. The dry mouth. The trembling hands. The catastrophic predictions. They feel all of it. And they act anyway. This is the definition of courage in every philosophical tradition. Not the absence of fear. The presence of action despite fear. The Stoic does not wait to feel confident. They do not wait to feel ready. They do not wait for the fear to disappear. They reach out while afraid. They speak while uncertain. They love while vulnerable. And in this reaching, this speaking, this loving, they discover that the fear was lying. That the catastrophe was imagined. That the connection was possible all along. The connection, when it comes, is transformed by this approach. Because it is not built on need. It is built on choice. The Stoic lover chooses to love. The Stoic friend chooses to be present. The Stoic partner chooses to commit. And because these are choices, they are free. They are not desperate grasping. They are deliberate giving. The other person senses this freedom. They feel the absence of pressure. The absence of demand. The absence of the hidden contract that says I will love you only if you love me back. This freedom invites reciprocity. It creates safety. It allows the other person to choose as well. And chosen connection is infinitely more valuable than compelled connection. The loss, when it comes, is also transformed. Because the Stoic has already accepted its possibility. They have not demanded permanence. They have not required that this connection lasts forever. They have loved with the full knowledge that all things are temporary. That people change. That circumstances shift. That death separates. This is not pessimism. This is realism. And in this realism, there is peace. The peace of having loved fully while love was possible. Of having given completely while giving was available. Of having risked everything while risk was appropriate. The Stoic does not regret loss. They regret only the failure to love while love was possible. Marcus Aurelius wrote that everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. If it is unendurable, then stop complaining. Your destruction will mean its end as well. This is the Stoic acceptance of impermanence applied to relationships. The loss is endurable. It will be endured. And in the enduring, there will be the continuation of capacity. The ability to love again. To risk again. To connect again. Because the loss did not destroy the power. It only ended the particular expression. The power remains. The capacity remains. The possibility remains. The busy modern person objects here. They say they do not have time for philosophy. They do not have energy for practice. They are consumed by work and obligation and the sheer effort of survival. And the Stoic agrees. This is precisely why the practice is necessary. Because the busy person has even less margin for the devastation of failed connection. Even less resilience for the exhaustion of desperate need. Even less time for the recovery from emotional catastrophe. The Stoic practice is not an addition to your burden. It is a subtraction from it. It removes the impossible demand that others make you whole. It releases the exhausting effort to control what cannot be controlled. It frees your energy for what is actually yours. The application to modern dating is immediate and profound. The entire apparatus of contemporary connection is built on need. Swipe for validation. Match for confirmation. Message for reassurance. Date for security. Each step is a test. Each response is a verdict. Each silence is a judgment. And the person who needs the connection is trapped in this apparatus, endlessly performing, endlessly seeking, endlessly disappointed. The Stoic alternative is to use the apparatus without being used by it. To swipe as exploration, not validation. To match as possibility, not confirmation. To message as expression, not demand. To date as presence, not audition. The outcome belongs to the other. The effort belongs to you. The application to friendship is equally profound. The modern friend is often a transactional partner. Someone who provides support in exchange for support. Presence in exchange for presence. attention in exchange for attention. And when the exchange becomes unbalanced, the friendship fractures. The Stoic friend is different. They offer what is in their power without requiring reciprocity. They are present because presence is their practice. They listen because listening is their virtue. They support because support is their choice. And if the friend does not reciprocate, the Stoic is not devastated. They have not made their peace contingent on the friend's response. They have made it contingent on their own capacity to love. The application to family is the most challenging and the most necessary. Family connections are the deepest and the most complicated. The oldest wounds. The strongest patterns. The most intense needs. The Stoic approach to family is not detachment. It is the same approach applied to the most difficult context. The parent who does not need their child's gratitude is free to love without resentment. The child who does not need their parents' approval is free to become without guilt. The sibling who does not need their brother's recognition is free to support without competition. This is not coldness. This is the only sustainable form of family love. The only form that does not collapse under the weight of unmet need. The practice is daily. It is not reserved for dramatic moments. The Stoic examines every interaction, every desire for connection, every fear of rejection, every disappointment when the response is not what was hoped. In each moment, the question arises: is this in my power? My reaching out? My vulnerability? My love? These are mine. Their response, their acceptance, their reciprocity. These are not. And in this examination, in this distinction, in this release, peace emerges. Not the peace of isolation. The peace of freedom. The freedom to connect fully without needing the connection to survive. The transformation is gradual. You will not become fearless overnight. You will not eliminate need in a single insight. But you will begin. You will reach out once without desperation. You will risk once without guarantee. You will love once without demand. And you will discover that you survive. That you are whole. That your worth is intact. And this discovery, repeated, becomes confidence. The confidence to risk again. To love again. To connect again. Until the need is transformed into choice. The desperation into generosity. The fear into freedom. If this resonated, subscribe. This channel exists to bridge ancient wisdom with modern practice. To build unshakable minds for unstable relationships. To help you love without fear and connect without need. Next week, we explore the Stoic response to jealousy. The poison that destroys what it seeks to protect. Rise as a Stoic.